Not just
Yes.
dead.
All right. All right. Well, here we go. We're going to give this a shot. We're going to try and do the last Accademia Giallo of 2023.
Hooray!
We've been experiencing, or I guess I've been experiencing some.
Ian has left the program.
Ian's been experiencing technical difficulties, what he's been experiencing.
I don't know what's going on.
Welcome back, Ian. What were you experiencing?
Here. I'm having an out of body experience, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So,
Glad I'm not
live television, folks. Just remember, this is how it used to be.
No nets. No nets.
No nets. Who needs a net when you've got an X-Acto knife that will extend and extend and extend?
that appears to be my issue.
Have you tried turning it off and on again?
I might have to do that, actually.
It's funny because it's true.
Yeah. So I'll tell you what. Why don't you guys, since you are live and I'm allegedly live, but you guys are more live than I am, why don't you set up what we're talking about and your experience with A Blade in the Dark, directed by Lamberto Bava from 1983. And I'm going to see if I can troubleshoot on my end and find out what's going on with this internet. All right. Yeah, we'll try it. All right. AC, kick it off. I dubbed the teacher today.
Welcome to Kitley's Crypt, where sorry. So yes, thank you, Ian. We're discussing 1983's A Blade in the Dark, which was Lamberto Bava's second giallo after Macabre.
That's not really a giallo.
Giallo's not real. Okay, fine. So see, this is why you're still here, John. Now I haven't seen Macabre in a while. Of course, I hadn't seen Blade in the Dark in a while. And I remember revisiting, coming around to this for the first time back in the mid 2000s was the first time I saw it. And much like this time, I was kind of, I wasn't as steeped in Italian horror as I am now, but I was struck by the ridiculousness of the dialogue and although the murder weapons did, get a little more exciting as the film went on. I was like, really? The X-Acto knife? That's what we're going to be going with every single time? And it's going to extend. I'm like, you can only do that joke once, Lamberto. You can only get away with the extending X-Acto knife once before I'm going to start calling.
Well, you can do it more than once. You're just not going to get away with it more than once.
Yeah.
Listen, first of all, I got to correct the record. Can you guys hear, first of all?
Yeah.
Okay.
We can hear you.
You just froze up again,
All right. It's not technically an X-Acto knife. It's utility blade.
That's right, because it's not a brand. The X-Acto knife is a brand. He was going to correct me, and I've frozen him with my mind.
There you go. So Aaron is really in control here. See, I will say that Macabre, his first film, there is a mystery to it, but I don't think that really would qualify as a giallo.
Okay.
Where this one is a straight up, that's exactly what he's trying to do.
Very much so, yeah. Like, there's a mystery, there's murders, there's style and finesse. But yeah. But there's the screenplay for this was a riot. I've not seen this in the original Italian. I watched it again on the Shudder, which is the dubbed version. But I have to say, I was wildly amused by some of the phraseology that was being tossed out.
That's the one thing that really is a negative towards this film. If you're seeing it with the English dub, which is the only version I've ever seen,
okay,
it's horrible, and it takes away from a lot of the style and the mood and atmosphere of this film because the dialogue. I don't know if that's the actual dialogue or if that's just the translation, which doesn't really work, but right. It's terrible. And it's a shame because I had first seen this back in the VHS days and remember really liking it.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't remember if the VHS copy I had wasn't in Italian with subs or not, but then I know I had the Shriek Show DVD and that's the one I watched last night and went, I remember this being better. And again, I think it goes strictly to the dialogue. The dubbing is so bad
Yeah.
that it takes you immediately out of the mood and out of the film.
So AC, had you ever seen the original Italian version?
No, I've only seen this version. I was saying, I don't know if you could hear, but like I saw this back in the like mid 2000s when I was just kind of getting into Italian horror, and this was one that I watched with a friend, and we were both just kind of like rolling around on the floor laughing at how ridiculous the lines were. But yeah, I mean, there's some fun, stalking sequences and things like that, and the protracted suspense, and but yeah, so I mean, it was fun. It was also fun in a probably unintentional way. So I mean, I enjoyed myself. I enjoyed myself again this time. I'm actually glad we went back and revisited it because I hadn't seen this in 20 years, and it was it was delightful. Perhaps not for all the reasons that Mr. Bava had intended.
It reminded me of Avatar 2.
With the special effects. Yeah.
Well, I mean, it looks great, but the writing is just, it doesn't hold up, particularly in the.
Keep going.
Oh, I was going to say the opening bit with the kids going into the dark basement, and there's sort of the dare, and there's the throwing the ball down the stairs. There's three boys, as we understand them at the beginning. They throw a ball down the stairs of this creepy looking place. The one kid takes the dare, goes downstairs, and then there's a pause, and then the tennis ball comes shooting back up out of the darkness, bouncing off the wall
after a scream. No.
Right. Sorry, there's a scream. The ball bounces off the wall and the floor, and you can see that there's blood on it. And then it smashes to the opening credits, these, white text on black, and this great score. It's a hell of a way to open the movie. And then you find out that there's a film editor who's working with the director on a new movie, and the opening scene is the movie that they were working on. And I haven't seen a film play into it that bit as much as I have here. Movies like Wes Craven's New Nightmare, which kind of open.
Killer Party's another one that it starts off with a scene from a movie that you find out later is a movie. Although I think it's a music video in Killer Party.
Okay.
Although it does make you wonder that if the beginning is reality or the film, because as the story plays out, where she's taking the story for her film from somebody else, and even though it's the exact same footage,
you're like, is this a flashback or is this a
and I'd like the fact that they kind of tie that in and you're not really sure, but then the very, very end you're going, huh, what? What?
I didn't either.
I will say one more thing as far as the bad dubbing. Most of the actors in here are not very good. So with the shitty dubbing, it makes it even worse. So again, I remember really liking this, and I was kind of disappointed watching it this time going, I don't know. It just, the acting and the dubbing really put me off. Bryan.
Hi, Bryan.
Buongiorno.
That's the wrong Bava shirt. You must have got the wrong email.
Yeah.
And Ian's having some technical issues. So if he's not correcting you, just know that the correction is implied.
I was legit waiting for him to say so I was just kind of hanging back like, okay.
We've taken over kicking the seat.
So I would imagine there's not a lot of love for this film. That's what I'm sensing.
I was saying I enjoyed it. It's just there's no denying that the dialogue is pretty ridiculous.
Well, that's the thing about this film. I love the visuals. I love the kills. Like death by film
Yes.
sequence, it goes down as one of the best all-time deaths
Being
that I've ever
swung
seen.
around and swung around.
Oh my
and
god!
swung-
And then he's like dancing, like
and then like there's more film to get just like bury her.
yeah.
I'm like, wow.
Which, this film was made in '83, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we have like a year or so after like when Demons comes out, which is Lamberto Bava's like full commentary on like film killing people or whatever. But this one is a nice little kind of like tie into like just his themes in terms of how he views cinema versus the genre of horror, and the commentaries that he's done throughout his films or whatever. That is just a perfect death scene, I think. But speaking to the other things about this film, the dialogue, the meandering in the script, like I do enjoy Bava's sense of like he does very similar things here with the pacing and the camera that you see like in Demons and Demons 2. Like it's almost like I don't want to compare him to Danzig's style of filmmaking.
Oh God, no.
no. But it's that style of like lingering on a
Not
telephone.
having an editor.
Well, that
Well,
too.
and he is the editor. That's the thing. I looked at
Right.
the I was like, oh, you're a little too in love with what you got here, my friend.
But like I appreciate like when somebody's making a phone call, you don't see the phone until like it kind of pans into view, and then she picks up the phone and calls, and then on the other end you see the phone cord, and it kind of leads you up to like an individual who's speaking. Like he does that a lot, like maybe too much.
Yeah.
There is some restraint when you see a film like Demons and Demons 2, but the opening of Demons 2, if you remember, when the chef is making that cake, there's a lot of that just like, okay, what am I watching? Where are we going? He does that bucket loads here in A Blade in the Dark. So I will say it's not quite as enjoyable as the Iron Maiden song A Blade in the Dark. But there's so many like things
It's a lot shorter.
What's that?
I say the Iron Maiden song is shorter.
Well, yeah, but this one does seem like it's 3 hours long.
Well, no, I mean, I was like, it clocks in at like an hour and 48 minutes. I was like,
Yes.
that's a long time. You don't. I mean, I think
But-
it could have been trimmed down a bit and would have been better for it.
What's interesting about this, though, it was filmed as a series, like a limited TV series.
Oh, really?
So I wonder if that has anything to do with the pacing in terms of like it being stretched out. Because if I was reading correctly, there was to be a death at the end
Commercial
of every
break.
episode.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's fun.
So it's interesting when you note that in comparison to the pacing and the meandering and the script, like how overlong it is. Like, there's a lot of choices that could have been made that could have tailored this film just fine at 125 minutes, say, or whatever.
You mean an hour and 25 minutes?
Yeah, that's what I meant. I am indulging today on a Sunday, so but no, this film I just adore. Like I know it's got its detractors. I know people look at this film as one of Lamberto's low ends or whatever, but there's just so much
No.
I think I love the
wouldn't
deaths
say
in
that.
this movie. I love the imaginative deaths in this film. I love that he uses a box cutter to kill somebody. Like that's just amazing to me. And just like a lot of the scenes that are sort of like in particular that box cutter death scene, it takes place like with a fence like in between. So it gives you that interesting strike of just visual cinematography or whatever. I love that the touches in this film regarding that kind of stuff. But
Well, in a brief, I mean, I realize that we did talk about like the opening scene, but that leads us into, where we find ourselves in an editing suite, and Bruno, our composer, is sitting with our writer director. What's her name? Sandra. So
Sandra.
he's sitting with Sandra, And we find out that she is the writer-director of the film, and that she's asking him to compose, and he's never done a horror score before. So he's, oh, wow, he just
That was
disappeared.
cool.
Oh, special effects. Anyway, so yes, so Bruno has retired to this villa that he's rented from Michele Soavi, who assistant directed on this as well. And he is going to be working on the score. And whilst he is there, he meets all manner of strange visitors, including Katya, who shows up out of a closet, freaking out about a spider. No, it's a cockroach. No, it's actually a spider, but they keep going back to it being a cockroach. I'm like, what is going on? Like, you showed us clearly it is a spider. What's happening? But yes, and then we find that there's a mystery wrapped up in the previous tenant, who's Linda, and that Linda has kind of mysteriously disappeared, and we don't know what's gone. You know, where is she gone? We have totally taken. Wow, I just got moved into like pole position. This is fun.
Yeah.
I guess if you just keep talking long enough, it just rotates you through.
You are the master, AC. We follow you.
Ian's not here, so what do we really want to talk about?
I was going to say, because, but anyway, yeah. So that's kind of like the setup, is that we spend our time at this villa, which was there were no sets built for the film.
Yeah, it was all shot
on location in this villa.
As a matter of fact, wasn't it like kind of made to be shot at this particular villa?
I think they found the location. They went, this would be a great place to make a movie.
Yeah.
Brian, where did you see the film for the first time?
Where? I saw it back in my Coconuts days when I was a manager and I would be ordering all these movies. I saw at that particular time, I was kind of doing my journey backwards, in terms of Lamberto Bava and Demons and all, my stuff attached to that particular film. But I actually didn't see this until like early 2000s when I ordered it. I think it was I want to say it was, who put that out?
Shriek Show, I believe.
Yeah, something like yeah. So I ordered it. It came in. I watched it, and I was just like, back then you don't really care about pacing and stuff like that. You're just watching a movie. Nowadays, when you're watching a movie, it's almost like you're dissecting it and you're seeing like in comparison to other films or whatever. So I love the hell out of the movie when I first watched it. But I will say, I don't have it on me anywhere, but there's an 88 films version Blu-ray that came out. And that one's quite nice. I like that one. It's a good
Does
transfer.
that have audio Italian dialogue?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Which the Italian title of this film, something Dark Stairs or something like that, which is weird. But
Which
Lamberto
fits.
Lamberto said that the American title, A Blade in the Dark, better fits this movie in terms of like what he envisioned it to be or whatever. So, well,
what's funny is I'd never actually heard it before, but when Sandra's talking to Bruno, she's saying afraid in the dark. I'm like, aha, I see what you did there. A blade in the dark.
By the way,
in the dark.
Did anybody catch Lamberto's cameo in the movie?
No.
Who was he?
I don't know if you remember, towards the end, right before the film death sequence or whatever. Actually, right before the I believe, what is it? The janitor or the maintenance guy discovers the bodies in the little tank. Right before that, when our composer guy arrives to check out the film, there's a gentleman handing off a reel.
Yes.
To the dude saying, this is the black and white version or whatever. That's Lamberto.
Oh, I did not know that.
Yeah.
But you know what? It makes sense because that moment and that character kind of smacks of cameo of someone I'm supposed to recognize.
Well, I mean,
he does a few cameos in his movies.
That whole scene is just wackadoo, especially with the dubbing, because it's like, Bruno dips around, so he's out of view, and you just hear like all these little snippets of dialogue happening. I'm like, they're just making this up. And then you pan around and you see the guy who looks like he's kind of dressed like a female, and he's got like, he's got long hair, but I think he's wearing a skirt. And I was like, what? Oh, okay. Who are you? Are we ever going to meet you again? Nope. Okay, bye. Yeah, I think there's a lot in here that's fun and weird and kind of WTF. And if it were trimmed down a bit, I think it would go down a lot easier.
Oh yeah.
But I had a good time with it. And I was saying before you came on, I'm like, I don't think you can, like I loved it when he sees the girl and you see the X-Acto knife go tuck, tuck, tuck. And I'm like, nice. That's a fun. And then it's like, he does it again. I'm like, you can't do that twice. That's
it's almost like he's just like too in love with his own shots.
Right. I'm like, that's where an editor comes in, sir, and goes, no, we're only doing it once.
And the final scene with what's her name, Julia, and she's being stalked by the killer. Like, it's just the music is just that perfect 80s almost slasher vibe, into this Giallo movie. And when the knife like pierces the closet door or whatever, and that close up of her face, like, it's just fucking art. Like, that's what I'm saying about this film. It's like, okay, like, I get it. Like, it's not the greatest script. There's the pacing is really kind of but the shit that happens in this movie is just fucking, like, if you love Giallo movies, this has some really iconic, like it's almost like Lamberto just kind of leafed through a best of and was like, you know what, let me just do this. And then, like, he does that amazing shower scene with the Fabiola, I believe her name is, and then that final sequence, and then the death with the film. Like, it's just, there's so many beautiful moments in this movie. And I realize we're talking about murder scenes, but just
well, and we haven't even talked about the fact that our little blonde kid at the beginning of the movie is none other than Bob from House by the Cemetery, who later shows up in Demons. He's I forget the kid's name, but he's
Giovanni Frezzi.
Thank you.
At the very end there with the shotgun.
Right. Anyway, Ian.
Yes.
If we can have your attention for one moment. I know you've got a lot going on over there.
Listen, I was trying to troubleshoot. Unfortunately, my tech support was upstairs with the kids and didn't get my message. So I had to restart my router, and I'm hoping that works. I have no idea if you
look
can
and
hear me.
Sound great.
Thank you. For
and
now.
Not to mention, that's a perfect ender of the year, right? Like, in terms of, like, because we've had our technical issues, so this is a nice little end of the year show.
I'm just glad that, because I restarted the router, so in my mind, I know nothing about this stuff. I thought that the show might have come to a screeching halt, but I came back and found, thankfully, that you guys were still on and talking.
Well, maybe we're still on. Who knows?
Yeah.
Well, you might want to go back and rewatch it.
No, I definitely don't want to go back and rewatch
it. Don't want to. There was some really horrible things said about you, and I did my best to cover.
Well, thank you. But no, I mean, the artsiness, I think, of this film doesn't make up for the dialogue, which is a scream. But I did like, and I kind of got cut off. Initially, we were talking about the ball, kind of the whole setup of the kids going into the basement, how that's actually the movie with a movie that's actually based on real life events. So it's an interpretation of trauma. That's really cool. I also liked towards the end, and maybe this is because my mind was wandering because this is such a long movie, but I picked up on something. It's really hard to express verbally. So I don't know if anyone can see my drawing when I put it up on the screen, but towards the end, I think it is when Julia is running through this house with all these white halls and passageways. The lighting really, it plays with the angles of the doorways and the way that they're shot. So that, let me see if I can put this up. All right.
You just killed it.
Of course, I was
going
to say
no.
that was a great setup, though.
No. Okay.
Let me know if I'm back. All right,
you're back now.
Did you see the?
Just don't do it. Don't do that.
All right. Well, anyway, the angle of the doorways and the shadows and the light, the way that they played out, looked like the blade of a skinny of a utility blade.
Hey,
And I started noticing that as a motif, like throughout the end of the movie. That was really kind of cool. I do have to ask about the death of the through the kind of the chicken wire, the big first kill in this movie. I could have sworn she had a lot more room to back up into in that little stall she found herself in, but she's like, I'm just going to stand right up against this.
Especially
fence.
when the killer's doing this to stab you to death.
Or that you couldn't just move behind where the plaster wall was.
Just move over. Like, go back to where you came. You know, like any of these options are available to you.
Well, these characters didn't seem to be the smartest because the one girl that's running around outside decides to stop and lean up against the tree so the killer can catch up to her.
Yeah.
As opposed to just continuing to run. So, not the smartest people out there.
Although it does. Oh man, the fact that like someone was obsessed with tennis. Like I was like, that was the line that was just a justification. I was like, yeah. Remember, she was just obsessed with tennis balls. Like, I don't think I've ever heard that in a movie before. Don't you remember when we met playing tennis?
But I mean, we're talking about a movie where somebody gets strangled by a roll of film.
Yes, we are.
I mean? Like that's just like that. That's what I'm saying. It's like there's shit in this movie that you've never seen. I guarantee in anything. Like
I've also never heard someone use the word perspicacious in conversation before. I was super impressed with Bruno at that moment. I kind of felt hard for him.
I mean, it's the dialogue in this film.
Perspicacious? Wow.
Well, Bruno is another, he's introduced, this is another movie that came out in 82 or 83 was Pieces, right? The crazy, creepy groundskeeper guy. Like our introduction to Bruno is the hedge clippers, right? Thank you, Kitley. But I never thought Bruno was the killer. I thought it was too obvious.
Sure.
But I love the fact that he was just this kind of like youngish playboy groundskeeper guy, hung out in his shack with the porno mags and everything, and didn't give a crap about anything. It was sad. I was sad to see him go, especially because his death reminded me of 2 Friday the 13th parallels in this movie.
Oh.
And we're going to have to wait until next year to find out what they are.
Son of a. Okay. Am I back yet?
Yep, you are.
I'm just going to rename this show, Am I Back Yet?
I'm glad that you can hear our commentary even when you.
Yeah.
That's the best thing about it is you're just helpless.
It is. You guys are unbroken. I can't, I'm the odd cog. Yeah. So, but yeah, Bruno, when first of all, I was thinking of that Encanto movie every time I heard his name, because there's that song, that insufferable song. But no, Bruno he's looking out of the cistern, I think, where he finds the bodies, in that drum. He gets the old wrench to the head, which comes down just like the axe in the shower in Friday the 13th. And then
wait a minute, you're talking about the
Giovanni.
groundskeeper? Yeah, that's Giovanni.
Oh, Giovanni. Yeah. Okay.
Bruno's
No, Bruno is the composer. Yeah. I'm sorry. Yeah. Giovanni, Bruno, I get them all mixed up. So
there's no insufferable Encanto song called Giovanni.
Well,
whilst he ponders and actually gets Encanto out and checks, no, in fact, there isn't. There's just that one Bruno song.
This is going to make me want to pick up the 88 films release, because I do think that's going to make it play better to hear it in Italian, because I do think that aside from the poor acting, I think the biggest downfall is the dubbing. And I don't think that that's what they were actually saying. So I would hope that the script is a little bit better. No, Brian, I agree with all the visuals.
No. I mean, I've seen worse dubbing than this film. You know what I mean? Like,
oh yeah. But again,
it's Mattei film or whatever.
It's a shame when you have a decent film be brought down by poor dubbing.
But
that's all.
I will say, like, as a whole, I don't think this is a great film. Like, don't get me wrong. It's not.
No, it's not a great film, but I think it's fun.
I think it's one of.
I think you chop off 10 minutes in this film, and it's even like I would say it's even in the conversation of like greatest 80s Giallo movies of all time. I will also add that I think because Well, I'm just saying it's interesting because Lamberto was an assistant on the Tenebrae set to Dario Argento. There are a lot of similarities in this film to that film. Just like the look of the film, the fact that it's an artistic individual that, it's like plugged into the arts. You know what I mean? In terms of Tenebrae being about an author and he mimics stuff in his films. Like this film mirrors the murders. The film within the film mirrors like what's going on in the film. So it's like there's a lot of creative similarities between the two. That's why I feel it elevates it to just a better, like, I think if it was better structured, if it was better paced, if it was all those things, you chop off 10 minutes. I think this movie is right up there with like the, dare I say, the Tenebraes of the 80s or whatever.
Well, it's good. I think it's an excellent example of like sound composer porn. I mean, the equipment in Bruno's suite, we get the full tour of it several times, and it is pretty impressive. So yeah. I don't know if that's part of the 10 minutes you'd cut out, but I'd probably leave that in. But I gotta say, while you can all hear me, the other Friday the 13th related death is that wonderful shower bathroom scene where she's doing her hair in the sink and she's reaching for the conditioner or whatever, and then she reaches out and she just misses it, and that's when the knife comes down, waiting for her to ask where the hell's the corkscrew. But I gotta say that death was, as much as I love Crispin Glover getting.
Oh no.
Although I will say that was the sink table or the sink that she gets stabbed in, correct?
Right.
Yes.
Isn't that usually
porcelain
or something?
I mean, this is 80s Italy, so you don't know.
You're right. I haven't been to Italy in the 80s or the 90s or ever, but I would like to think that they have some class in not using wooden sink covers, but I could be wrong.
Now, do you think our screenwriter Dardano Sacchetti, he'd done a bunch of stuff with Fulci. Do you think that he had seen Tenebrae and that he was cribbing any of his stuff? Or do you think that was Bava having been on Tenebrae and bringing?
I think it's the influence is definitely there. Like regardless from who it came from, like you could definitely see. This is 83. Tenebrae is 80, so it's like you don't have a lot of examples to mine from or whatever. And he was literally on the set with the maestro, so and his dad. You know what I mean? So it's like there's a lot, I think, working in Lamberto's head in the 80s by then. To prove, in terms of like, man, like I gotta get this great idea from somewhere, what I mean? So I'm sure the influence is there, and I'm not saying that it's like, oh my god, it's a ripoff of Tenebrae, but there are definite similarities creatively that I see within both films.
Yeah,
I thought I read that him and Bava didn't get along too well on this film, so there may have been some disagreements in the script, possibly.
Sacchetti, you mean?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But I believe so, because they both had been in the industry for forever.
Right.
And yeah, I mean, see, even though there's flaws, as I pointed out in this film, if you look at Bava's filmography, I would definitely put this in the top third of his films.
Oh yeah, easily.
I mean, it's definitely worth watching, and for a Giallo, it's a decent entry.
Top 5 for me, I would say Blade in the Dark, and then Demons 2, and then Demons, Demons, and Demons. So
top 5.
Boy, that's a shocker.
And that's the face that just like broke me in. He's just stuck. He's like making that face for eternity.
I am just so in love with this episode, just so you guys know.
I'm glad one of us is. Hey, heard that. That's amazing.
And we still got like half an hour left, so let's go.
I don't think that's true, Brian.
Let's just double down. Let's make this even longer.
Yes.
Let's add in the 20 minutes that Bava should have cut out of.
Hour and 50 minutes.
Yep,
exactly. We can hit
that. Here's a question. Do you think that the identity of the killer not so much who it was, but what they were in terms of it's a man who had these kind of identity issues and was, personified as a woman or presented as a woman. Was that supposed to be a surprise a la Psycho, or was it telegraphed so much that Bava and
I mean, we'd seen something like that in like Dress to Kill already. We'd seen that motif used before.
Mhm.
So I mean, I don't know. I think that they were pushing the red herring toward Julia really strong. So I think that's who we're supposed to think is the killer.
Yeah.
I mean, especially she's flaking out in rehearsals and she's coming up early and she's there when the murders are happening. So I feel like that's that's where our suspicions are lying. I mean, because they were leaning so hard, I'm like, well, clearly it's not her, and therefore, there's only one other person it really could be.
Yeah.
Well, I kind of read it a different way in that they kept ham-handedly saying, you're a woman. It's a woman. This person is dressed like a woman. That I'm like,
Yep.
okay, it's going to be a guy dressed up as a woman. That's, going back to, like I said, Psycho and Dress to Kill.
Mhm.
But no, I like your interpretation of it too. I just wasn't keyed in on that frequency.
I mean, and I think they were. I'm sorry. Go ahead, John.
No, I was just going to say it's in the very opening scene with the kids. They were calling the other boy, "You're a female." You're a female.
Female.
Yeah.
So that implies right away there's something to do with masculinity, even though they're kids. There's something in the question. So the minute that stuff starts to happen, I don't know. For me, it was like, well, there's an angle here that they're playing with.
Yeah. Yeah, and then like again, I hate to keep bringing in the similarities of Tenebrae, but there was a lot of psychosexual stuff in that one too. In terms of gender revealing and things of that nature in terms of sexuality in particular. You did have the lesbian couple in Tenebrae. Yeah, that's the thing with a lot of these movies. It's like they almost go like double down on that stuff, or they kind of throw in shades of it. So it's either like super heavy-fisted, helping of all these sexual identities throughout the story, or it's just like an echo of something that happened in the family's past or something, right? I think this movie, does a lot of interesting things, I would say, with, just the way that we look at masculinity, the way that we look at femininity. And then, often in these movies, it's sort of combined into the motive of the killer or whatever,
Right.
which is, I would say, leaning towards unfortunate in terms of looking at like why the killer kills or whatever.
Right.
But I do like the perspective of like this person is getting made fun of because of the way that they are, and that's what leads them to kill people, because people can be assholes and he's just trying to kill the assholes or whatever. So I dig that about the aspect of these particular movies. But it definitely lends an aura of just something interesting that you don't normally see when it comes to like motivational. Why is the killer killing, and why are they transformed into this level of killer or whatever? So
Ian can't save us now. So
I will say that
he's speechless.
Yeah, that's what it is. I will say though that because if I'm remembering this correctly, most of the female characters knew, was it Linda?
yes,
Yeah.
and it was
They didn't know.
no. I mean, is very attractive. Linda
Right.
is very attractive.
It's Michele Suave in drag. So I mean, come on.
Oh, spoilers.
Spoiler.
Way to go, Brian.
Oh my God, the spoiler
did you
alert
see
thing
the
wasn't
spoiler
up.
thing
No,
there?
I'm
No.
sorry. I fucked
Okay.
up.
Stop.
You know
Let's
what?
start over.
I blame the Guinness.
I'm just saying that he does not. He didn't. Already.
Okay, now it's all
Gloves
good.
are off.
That's
I
right.
just didn't. It seemed weird that these characters knew Linda, and didn't go
Right. And haven't been like, excuse me.
Yeah,
I thought you were gonna say it would seem weird that you're already talking about the killer and the spoiler banner isn't on. So,
Yeah.
yeah,
that is-
yeah. That's why I wasn't saying anything other than new Linda.
right.
But thanks for filling in the blanks there.
Of course,
Bryan.
of course. Yeah.
I'm just going to put all of my dialogue in the little rolling banner down
That's
below.
perfect.
See if
That would
works.
be great, actually.
You can just put it in the chat in the comments, and we'll just keep. We'll read yours.
Do we
Oh,
have
that's
anybody
great. Yeah.
in the comments yet? Or?
Not yet. I
Nothing
checked. I checked.
Okay.
Whilst I was running around going, I'm in charge. I'm in charge.
But no, okay. While I have everyone's attention and I'm here, the thing that struck me about the killer is that we got all these close-ups of this very slender person in a red dress.
Mhm.
To me, it looked like Olive.
And is gone.
Olive Garden. Endless breadsticks.
Olive from Popeye.
It is an Italian film, so
You were saying?
No, I was saying that that it looked like olive oil from Popeye was going
There you
over.
go.
There you go.
See, I got it.
John Kitley for the
You
win.
got
should
it.
be on $25,000 pyramid. I went totally the other way.
That's great. Great 80s reference, by the way.
Yep.
Oh,
Wait, was that 80s?
Internet
That was
connection.
70s, my friend. Although it was probably $100,000.
Well, I
Yeah.
grew up in sort of the late 70s, 80s, so I saw Dick
Inflation had
Clark.
caught up. Yeah.
$5 pyramid.
The $5 pyramid.
Actually, I think it was the cocaine period by the 80s. By the
Yeah.
time 80s.
They were just giving it all away. I will. I mean, I was really. We have our I forget her name, the one that dives into the pool and finds the X-Acto knife and brings it out. And I was like,
That's Fabiola.
What? And go ahead.
Well, I mean, that's the actress's name, right? Fabiola.
Right.
She's in Demons.
That's where I know her from. Okay, sorry. I was like, why do I know her? Who is she in Demons?
She is one of the prostitutes.
Ah, fantastic.
Oh, she's the other one.
Not Jaretta.
But she-
Not Jaretta. They're easily confused.
Right.
Anyway, she goes down, she comes up, and she brings the X-Acto knife. And I was really happy that she didn't do the thing where, like, sometimes characters are like, what is this thing I've never seen before? And they, like, cut themselves on the, ow, it's so sharp. It's like, seriously, it's a razor blade. But she, I mean,
But
her,
maybe
her death is amazing. Like,
maybe at this point, like those safety blade things are like cutting edge. I don't remember.
Hey, I see what you did there.
Which I didn't need to do. But no, like I don't know why it's like looked at as like, wow, look at this new thing. It's like
Right. I was like, I don't think that those were as revolutionary at that time.
right. But no,
But
yeah,
I do
agree.
like her death in the bathroom,
Mm-hmm.
complete with, as Ian was saying, the whole and really nice effect in terms of the hand
Yes.
drawing out through the knife, because you see
Yep.
the hand moving.
And that's the thing. Like, I feel bad for not knowing this, but I'm kind of a little inebriated right now. The FX person, is that Stivoletti in this film?
No, Giovanni Corradoro.
Okay. So, but like,
Yes.
my point is, Lamberto
Corridori.
goes all in every film when it comes to like gore and special effects or whatever. Like, I feel like the man just has a certain vision and he's got no fear and he just wants to put it out there. So like these movies definitely display, I think, like, and I'm not necessarily I don't necessarily know if it's him specifically that has these particular visuals in mind. But just a lot of cool stuff. Like, is he sitting down storyboarding and I keep going back to this, but like the murder scene with the film, like, like to me it's genius. It's like, it's a stroke of like fucking, like, that's the thing.
Do we know if that was him or do we know if that was
That's what I'm wondering. Like,
Right.
if it's him sitting there, because it's similar in Demons too. Like, they pop out of a movie to kill people. It's the
Right.
movie killing the people.
Right.
It's the fucking movie or whatever.
I would
But,
think that it's more he's in line making a giallo, so it's got to have its violent,
Right.
gory deaths. So
Now,
Go
Go ahead. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say whether that was Bava or whether that was this Sacchetti.
Mhm.
I mean, it's part of the subgenre, so you got to have those key elements in there.
Well, my question is, I mean, and I actually don't know the answer to this because I don't know the background on Lamberto, but like, was he a horror fan, or was this kind of like, you know, like the job that he was given? I mean, with like, was he a Lon Chaney Jr. going, well, I guess I got to do this?
No, I think he was more so like he would be on his dad's sets. Like he would, it
Yeah,
was
'cause
almost like
he was assistant director and he worked on his dad's sets.
Right. Did he like it?
So, he grew up in the industry. I don't know if maybe he never had a choice. I'm assuming he wanted to be in the industry.
Because he didn't do a ton of like, unlike a lot of the other Italian directors, he didn't do a ton of like other stuff. He did a lot of horror.
That's what I question, because when you look at somebody like Mario Bava's filmography, like it's just very spread wide open.
Yep, Fulci.
He's got
and all those guys.
Yeah, they have many examples of what makes them a magnificent filmmaker. When you look at Lamberto's case, it's almost like, you know, he's got this little burst in the 80s, but the 80s were very much horror filled, you know, in terms of the slashers, and then you know, some of the supernatural stuff, and then, you know, you have the Giallo scene sort of dying down by the time the late 80s come around. So it's almost like he's just doing what he knows, I think. Like, it's not necessarily like and, you know, if he's out there listening to the show, whatever, forgive me. I don't know what's inside your head, Lamberto. But, like, does he have a full-on passion for filmmaking? I'm not sure. Like, you know, there are moments in this movie in particular, and various of his movies, that show that he definitely has an eye for something amazing.
Right. And this is early on in his career, so I mean, like, that's where the bursts of inspiration are gonna be showing up. I mean, I don't have to tell you. I mean, Demons is like just bursting with, you know, imaginative flair. And
but also Demons, I look at as like Steven Spielberg and Tobe Hooper working on Poltergeist, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, is that more of a Argento influence, or is that all Lamberto? Like, it's hard to say, because the only reason why Dario didn't direct that movie was because he was busy with Phenomena that same year. So it was almost like, is Lamberto a gun for hire in terms of directing this movie, or are a lot of his input in this movie? You know,
see, Demons doesn't feel like an Argento to me.
Right.
And according to Coralina, at least as far as Demons 2, Lamberto directed that. It wasn't.
Well,
like
yeah,
but I mean, it wasn't like Poltergeist, where Lamberto's looking over at Dario, going, "Okay, now, okay." I mean, that's he didn't interfere with it.
If we're name dropping Mr. Kitley,
that was called a reference.
Giretta has told me on many occasions that Dario was there screaming on the set as well. So it's like,
but that could have been about the lunch. Who knows?
I don't eat gluten, guys. I keep telling you, I don't eat pasta.
I love the visual of that, by the way.
Question.
Oh, hi, Ian.
Hey,
when'd you
welcome
get here?
to the show.
I want to ask. I'll try and get this out quick because I don't know how much time I have.
Fast, go.
Okay. Visual motifs. Can they be a red herring? And did you guys pick up?
Oh, he was almost there.
It's a good question too. This is going to be good.
Did we pick up on?
Oh, you're back. Please.
Pick up on what?
Our seat. Oh,
No,
he's
he's
frozen
gone.
again.
Oh, you want to guess what he was?
I think
say?
that's a screenshot for the show.
Visual motif.
Visual motif. Did you guys pick up on?
Shoot.
He said red herring.
Right.
I didn't see any fish in the movie.
The fact that
Actually, this is fucking fun. We should like do this more.
No,
Okay,
he's still
so-
frozen.
Hold on. So the visual
the red
motif.
herrings, it could be like a costume piece. The fact that, you know, like that we have women running around. Yes.
Okay.
Go.
Blue.
Oh, okay, blue.
All right. There's a comment section.
Blue blouse, yellow skirt. In the private chat, we see.
Oh,
Blue
okay.
blouse, yellow skirt. And you're back. You can talk now, Ian.
Who the
Momentarily.
characters show up One is wearing a blue blouse and a yellow skirt.
Uh-huh.
They die. Another character shows up wearing a yellow blouse and a blue skirt. And I think towards the end, when we see the little boy who's now a girl,
He had a red skirt on, though, I thought, when he goes up the stairs.
there's something about the maybe it was the long blonde hair. I don't know if there was something going on like a clue. I don't know that that's the case, but I feel like there might have been a visual motif red herring seen in a movie before.
Okay. You were paying closer attention to the color schemes than I was.
Yeah.
I was too busy looking up perspicacious.
No, I liked you guys looking at my trying to figure out what the hell I was talking about in between freezing.
Dude, that was fun.
great.
Let's hope the audience enjoys it as much as well.
What am I watching here?
I have no idea.
But no, that's interesting. It's interesting that you would pay attention to that, because like it shows that like on our like journey of this Accademia Giallo, that you're actually paying attention to some of this cool shit, you know. So much more attention than somebody like myself.
And Ian, if we get you for a couple of more seconds, like what was?
Nope.
Nope. That's it. He's done.
I love it. that freeze right there. That should be the screenshot of like the entire show.
But Ian, if you can tell us by any means possible, smoke signals are totally acceptable. Like
in the chat.
Like what was your like? Because I'm guessing you were watching this at some like odd hour at night, and you know
he was watching it this morning.
He's watching it just before we tuned in.
Yeah.
But the question being, like, what was as you were kind of like holding this, comparing to other Giallo that you'd seen, because we don't see, you know, like our classic J&Bs, we don't see any black gloves, we don't see any long trench coats. You know, is this a nouveau Giallo? I pose that to the group until Ian comes back.
Mm-hmm.
I think because of the killer in question, I think all we're going to see is the extracting knife, the X-Acto knife or whatever it is. And then later on, you see the whole blade with the obvious female hand.
Right.
So I think I didn't really see any of that or any. I don't know. To me, it just felt like a Giallo. You have the killer weapon, and then once it gets a little bit more and more of who the killer or what the killer is, then they give you a little bit more. But then you're kind of thinking, well, maybe it's one of the girls, but then they're still not giving you everything.
Well, is it just becoming an Italian slasher at that point, or is it still a Giallo?
I think because it has strands of DNA from Tenebrae, which is a different take on the Giallo genre, you know, with many hallmarks, of course. But, you know, it's Argento stepping back and him saying, like, you know, oh, you want a different Giallo? Here's my version of a different 80s Giallo. Mm-hmm. I think because it's coming from that, like, if it's true, right? Like, if Lamberto is on the set of Tenebrae and he's seeing what Argento is doing, and that's the only Giallo reference that he has, aside from his father, of course, you know, being on this modern looking Giallo, you know, maybe he's like kind of doing that on this film. And
are full in swing in the slasher boom at this point. I mean, like 83, like it's.
But that's the thing. It's like when an Italian does a slasher, it's going to have echoes of, you know, especially an Italian whose father is the godfather of Giallo.
Well, exactly. But like, I mean, I guess what, you know, at some point, you know, because the 70s are kind of like classic Giallo,
right? Or
classic Giallo period. Like, you know, I mean, we kind of talked about this when we discussed Soave's Stage Fright. Was like, you know, is it just because it's coming from Italy that's what makes it a Giallo versus it being a slasher? Like, I mean, there's plenty of slashers out there where we don't know who the identity of the killer is, and it's a reveal at the end.
But because Giallo is specifically rooted in psychosexuality and you know, things of that nature, where you have the gender swapping in the movie that is the actual piece of who the killer is. Like, I think that's why I think that's why this one is more leaning towards Giallo. Like
Sure.
like I see what you're saying. It does a lot of the Giallo things, but it also does a lot of the slasher things at this point in the 80s. But
And I think that's, I mean, I'm thinking it might be an intentional hybrid, I think is all I was.
oh, of course, a lot of these movies in the 80s
But
were intentional hybrids. You know,
You keep mentioning Tenebrae, but also remember that Bava Senior did Hatchet for the Honeymoon, which, if I'm not mistaken, doesn't have a somewhat of a cross dresser.
right?
Isn't he wearing the wedding gown?
Yeah, he's wearing the
And
gown.
that's due to a childhood trauma.
hmm
And Lamberto Bava was, I believe, assistant director on that. So he may be taking some of that element
Could be
into this as well.
And that's the thing. I feel like that's his experience. So
Yeah.
we're seeing that, you know, in A Blade in the Dark. You know,
I think it's like a perfect storm. He's becoming his own, becoming a director on his own at a time where the film industry is exploding. So his background is in this kind of subgenre. Maybe that's the only thing he's getting. But I would like to think, if it was anything like Hollywood, if he had such a huge hit with Demons, if he wanted to do something different,
Right.
he could have done it at that point, possibly, but he didn't. He stayed in the genre. So that makes me feel that he was making the kind of films that he actually wanted to make.
or that he was familiar with, you know.
Or that too. But there's a lot of directors out there that do this kind of stuff because that's what they're getting. That's the offers they're getting, but they always wanted to do something different. And they usually don't get that chance until they have a huge hit.
Right.
All right. So the boss to my left says we can read some of his comments. He said that he agrees with Giallo agrees with Jello. He agrees with Kitley that it's not a slasher, just feels like a Giallo, but no J&B, so it's instantly disqualified. And he thinks that someone severed his internet connection using, wait for it, A Blade in the Dark. I hope I got my Ian Simmons flair on that one. and that officially he's not actually had any technical difficulties. He's just been auditing the class, and we've all passed with flying colors, including you, true believers and faithful viewers.
That's great.
Am I even here anymore?
Yeah,
I mean, you're here
for now. Well,
And-
no,
and-
you're not.
No, that was purely that was a big old fake out there.
In true Giallo form, that was a great plot twist. So.
Who could have seen any of this coming?
Not Ian.
Will anybody see any of this ever?
He can fix all this in post. He'll just
Right.
add his.
I can't fix this in post. No.
Well, we've been given.
Oh,
the go
actually,
ahead.
it says feel free to go on
That's
for another
what
hour.
I was just going to do. Oh, that's right. I misread that. Sorry. Ian just bails. We just
Did I freeze? Is this showing up?
hold
showing
his
up?
channel hostage for as long as possible.
Either that, or he's going to turn around and start drinking from that bottle of J&B.
Yeah.
You want to talk about Avatar 2? Too bad. We're going to talk about Blade in the Dark all the way through 2023. But yes.
By the way, a little bit of a side note, if you will.
yes, let's.
My company flew me out to this event out in Atlanta, and during the event, during the evening festivities, you feel free to go about and mingle, and they pay for all your alcohol. So I walk up to the bar and I look up and I see a bottle of J&B, and I was like, I'm gonna have some J&B, sir.
Oh, that's lovely.
And then he knifed you.
Yeah.
And I also can't believe that we got 58 minutes into the show without you having like a side alley conversation. I mean, that was the first kind of like off topic comment you've made, Bryan. So congratulations. That was great.
Well, I will
Oh, there you go. Doors open.
just real quick, this
Yes.
is why I was late.
What is
Because
that?
it's a Nerf gun
Oh, okay.
with a
Oh, with a cobra face.
yeah, which is heavy metal.
That's pretty
But-
awesome.
My son, like it was malfunctioning it, so I had to take the entire thing apart and fixed it. So that's why I
That
was
is a
about 10 minutes
worthy, yeah,
So-
that is a
Noble
worthy
cause.
reason for being tardy.
As it shoots him as he's trying to move it away.
So anyway, Ian has given us the go ahead to go and give things a wind up, and I'm very grateful, as I'm sure our other guests are, that we've been able to join Ian on this trip for yet another year. I feel like we've been doing this for 2 years now, and there are still plenty more Gialli to explore. So we'll be coming back to you next year with more fun with J and B and Bryan and John and Ian and myself. And quick go round. This is Ian Simmons' channel, Kicking the Seat. If you like it, please, if you like this, please subscribe,
Hit the little
share,
bell.
etc. Hit the bell,
the little
so you get the
bell.
notifications. John Kitley of Kitley's Crypt, Bryan of the Gialli Room.
The Gialli Room.
Why is it just why is it Giallo Room?
The Jolly Room.
I thought it was. I was like, wait, do you only talk about one Giallo at a time at the Giallo Room?
The Giallo Room.
Yeah, I know. I got so like keyed into like saying plural because I got called out so many times.
Actually, I've heard that Jolly is singular, but I've also heard that it's plural. But
Wait.
I think it's plural.
Oh man, because that's oh look at Ian. Ian's broken. You broke him big time. This is gonna be the best when you see this, Ian. This is gonna be the best show of your life.
I love this.
Yes.
Anyway, so thank you all. I can't end the broadcast, so I will turn that over to Ian. But anyway, thank you all, and wish everybody a fantastic 2022. Any parting shots from the guests?
Go watch some more Giallo.
Yes. Actually, go out and so I don't have it on me right now. No, but is it still available? The Four Flies on Grey Velvet release from Severin that they just
I believe so. Yeah, Severin.
Yeah, get it because it's fucking phenomenal. So that's my one little I want to leave you off on. If it's still available, get that shit because
we've only seen Bird with the Crystal Plumage. We have not touched on the other two animal trilogies from Argento. So perhaps that will be awaiting us for next year. Ian promises to talk during those shows.
Maybe.
Yeah, don't make any promises, Ian.
Tune in next time,
especially
to see
with that. Yeah,
who's back.
Yeah, that's right. See who gets voted off the island. Anyway, thank you, Ian, and wish you all a happy rest of the year.
Giallo Christmas.
A very Gialli Christmas.
Yes.